Hello world, my name is Ryan, and this video is for anybody who's dealing with a disc injury, but if you also have back spasms or back pain, there's going to be some beneficial insight in this video to help you prevent a more serious injury and to deal with your current symptoms. The reason I decided to make this video is because while I dealt with my disc injury, it became one of the most depressing experiences in my life. And I would say it's probably one of the lowest points I've had in my life. I am now 24, and I endured my disc injury when I was 23, but we're going to get into the timeline real soon here. And basically, when I was going through this time and it got really depressing, um, I just kind of wanted answers at this point because I didn't know what to expect. So I started, going on forums and looking at videos of other people's experiences, and just a little bit of their positivity and inspiration allowed me to cultivate some inner happiness and kind of get through the times, and it really added value to my life. So I feel like if I can make this video for the community who's dealing with the same thing I did and add value to your life and inspire you in any way, that would be amazing for me. Honestly, it's the least I can do at this point. So here it goes. I endured a ruptured disc on January 7th, 2015, and today is January 7th of 2016. So I'm exactly 1 year removed from the initial injury. First developed a bone spur in my lower back region when I was younger because I used to sit on the edge of my bed and play like video games, and I would also play computer games when I was in high school and even in middle school. So I would sit a lot, like this. When I was at the edge of my bed, I would do a lot of this. So that having that kind of posture is so unnatural and so bad for you. So I actually developed a bone spur in my lower back. So that was one reason that I endured a disc injury later on in life. So you can kind of say I was more susceptible to a disc injury because of that bone spur and because of my bad posture. So anybody who wants to prevent a disc injury, posture is one of the key things. You want to have a really strong spinal column and back foundation to prevent anything more serious. So let's fast forward. I have a bone spur that developed. Never knew about it. Never had any pain. It's not like anything bulged out or anything. And then I started working out for the first time right after I graduated from high school. And so when I was like a freshman in college, I started working out, but I started working out with like the football team, the football coach. Um, and I was definitely lifting way more than I should have been lifting. I think I was 120 pounds coming out of high school. So they were definitely way stronger than me, and I was definitely lifting way more than I should have been. And I didn't have, one-on-one supervision. It was all about getting in there and really pushing yourself. So there was a period when I believe I was doing something like maybe deadlifts or clean and jerks, and then for a few months after that, I had back spasms. So those are probably the only two things that I had in my back leading up to a disc injury. And the back spasms kind of lasted, like I said, a few months. It would only really hurt like when I'd sit down for long periods of time. It was super uncomfortable to like sit in a car, stuff like that. But it went away after a while. I also wasn't very proactive about the spasms. I don't really understand what I was dealing with, or I don't really have the attitude to care to either. So I'm sure if I did, it would have made a difference. Again, I also didn't have like an attitude to care for like my posture because I've always been told by like family members and stuff that I had bad posture, and I never actually worked on it. So now we can fast forward to January 7th of 2014. I was working out at the gym. At this point, I've been lifting for quite some time, and there was a point where I was maxing out at weight for an exercise, and I would definitely say that part of it was some pre-workout, a part of it was ego, a part of it was just drive because I do enjoy pushing it at the gym and reaching new goals. So I was doing a chest exercise, but it also hits your triceps. It's a seated one, and you're seated like this, kind of straight, but it's a slight incline. So you're kind of seated like this, and you push out, and the weight rotates up like this. So as I was pushing, I was on my couple of last reps and I couldn't get them up. So I went like this and arched my back. And that really put a lot of pressure over here in my lower back. And that's actually where my disc ruptured. Now, I didn't feel anything instantaneously. In fact, I continued to work out. However, the next day, um, that's when the nightmare really started. So we're going to talk a little bit about my symptoms, about what happened with my disc. We'll get into some treatments in form of rehab, and then we'll get into where I am now, and hopefully that'll shed some light and positivity in some of your guys' current experience. So first, let's talk about kind of my experience and symptoms. Well, first, actually, let's get into what a disc is. So a disc is, think about like an elastic rubber band, but that would be the tissue for the disc. And inside is like a jelly-like or gel-like substance. And basically, they're in between vertebrae along the spinal column, and they're meant to absorb shock, support the bones, and make it so the bones don't grind on each other. So you can either have like a slipped or bulging disc, in which the actual disc just kind of shifts a certain amount of millimeters. It can move any way, and then it might be, hitting a nerve, and that could be sending pain down your feet, maybe your calves, maybe your hamstrings or quadriceps, maybe your butt. It kind of just depends. Some people have bulging discs and they don't even feel any pain. If you have a herniation or rupture, which is what I had, the tissue of the disc actually tears and the jelly-like substance comes out and compresses a nerve. So this is a little bit more severe, and there are many forms of treatment for this. However, if you do have a herniated or ruptured disc, it is true the actual disc itself will never repair. Those kinds of tissues will never like sew themselves back together. So that part is probably for the rest of your life, unless obviously different kind of technology comes out. However, you will be able to heal completely. Eventually, the gel will calcify, will harden. Eventually, hopefully, your nerve will no longer be compressed. Um, so you should still be able to resume all physical functions, or the possibility to do that is there. People have done it. I am doing it. Um, I would say right now about 90%. So basically, after I endured the injury, the next day my lower back tightened, and it just got worse and worse as the hours progressed in the day. I went to the emergency. Um, it took about a couple weeks for the doctors there to actually diagnose me correctly, because obviously you really don't know if you have the disc unless results are shown from an MRI. I mean, a normal family doctors who I kind of saw the first couple times wouldn't be able to diagnose that most likely. But once I saw a specialist, they were like, I suspect a disc injury. Let's get you an emergency MRI. So after a couple weeks, I was finally diagnosed with the ruptured disc. And around this time, I started to develop paralysis. Um, so basically, I had foot drop, which means I couldn't dorsiflex. So for those of you that don't know what dorsiflex is, it would mean that I could not do this with my foot, right? I couldn't move it up. So I also had paralyzation in my left leg for 2 weeks. It was only the left leg because the ruptured disc was compressing a nerve, the sciatic nerve, that would run down my left leg. So some people might have it in both. Again, some people, depending on the nature of the compression, might not feel anything at all. So mine was just in my left leg, and then I was paralyzed in my left leg, which means I couldn't consciously move it. I didn't know how at that point. I lost flexibility. I lost mobility. If somebody pushed it, or if it hit against something and moved on its own, the pain was extremely severe. So that was kind of my initial symptoms with this injury. The paralyzation for about 2 weeks, and the foot drop, which also lasted about 2 weeks. And when I had the foot drop too, and I couldn't dorsiflex, my foot was also completely numb for that whole 2 week period. So it was just tingling and just completely numb for 2 weeks, 14 days straight, about. And I would say the symptoms only got worse probably after about a month and a half, 2 months, because after your nerve is compressed for so long and You are stiff because I wasn't able to move much, right? I was kind of bedridden for 2 months. So after I was stiff, my leg wasn't getting much circulation, my diet wasn't as good, I wasn't sleeping as well. All these things kind of attributed to the next thing I'm going to talk about. It really tightens up your muscles. So then I started to develop cramps. And these cramps would last about 8 to 12 hours at a time. This is not an exaggeration. I literally would be crying for, I mean, hours and hours and hours throughout the day. I'd average about 30 minutes of sleep. And this lasted about 60 days, about 2 months, and this was pretty much every day. So that was probably the worst the injury got, and that's when the depression really started to kick in. I didn't know what to expect. Obviously, I had no sense of reality. I mean, I wasn't going to work anymore. I wasn't able to work on music anymore. I wasn't going to the gym anymore. I wasn't really socializing with friends much anymore. I wasn't going out. Really wasn't able to cook my own food at this point. Just lost a sense of everything in reality. So obviously, I kind of lost happiness at this point, or so I thought. So once I was reading on some forums and watching some videos, and I was listening to a variety of people. I remember one guy who stood out was Elliot Hulse. I would check him out. He's a really positive character. He's got a lot of experience, and he just shares it with the world. So I remember, I believe he was the one who gave an analogy of Phoenix, in which it's this bird that's on fire and it dies out, kind of becomes an egg and is reborn, and it kind of cycles like that. And I kind of related that to my situation. I kind of told myself, and he allowed me to see this, that I was the phoenix who had just burnt out and became the egg, right? Because I lost pretty much everything in life that made me happy, and I lost all my hobbies and my career and everything I was doing. So I needed to figure out a way to pretend, or even if it wasn't pretend, I needed to accept my situation and say, you know what, Ryan, this could be my reality. And if it is, it's time to move on. It's time to accept it, and it's time to find um, a new way in life to be happy. So I kind of recreated myself in a sense because I needed to find other ways to be happy. I said, you know what? I can't go to the gym anymore, and I might not ever be able to. What else can I do to make me happy? If I couldn't work on music and sit for a long time, what else can make me happy? So I started reading a lot more. I started learning a lot more about just any kinds of things I wanted to learn on any subject. I started meditating. I definitely started diving into spirituality a lot, and I would definitely say that that was one thing that really helped me. Initial authors I could recommend you to check out is Ralph Waldo Emerson, Eckhart Tolle, David Dita, um, and basically I would definitely spend some time distracting yourself in any way if you can too. At this point, I didn't have any video games or cable at this point, so those weren't options. But if they were, I'm sure the time would have been a little bit easier to get through. So now let's get into forms of treatment and then rehab. Actually, the doctor prescribes you drugs, or your health provider will provide you drugs. So that's not really a treatment. That's more for masking pain. I suggest you don't take them for a very long time, just because it really starts to interfere, honestly, with your recovery. You don't really gauge whether you're improving or not because you're masking the pain. And once you start taking so many drugs over a period of time, it actually prevents nutrients from really being absorbed as well in the body. You don't have as good of an appetite. And then, of course, when you come down, if you don't wean off really well, you'll have withdrawal symptoms, and those can be serious. So initially, I was on ibuprofen, then I was on Norcos, then Percocets, and then morphine because it was so severe. And those are just kind of like the painkillers. In addition to that, I was on like anxiety medication, sleep medication, anti-inflammatories, nerve pain medication. So I was on about like 6 things at once at one point. So you could just imagine the condition I was in, just mentally, emotionally, physically. I actually had muscle atrophy in one leg, the left leg. I lost 17 pounds. At this point, I was like 160. I weighed 143. My face got skinnier. I mean, I just looked like a wreck. Drugs is quote unquote the first treatment, but it is probably what you're going to get immediately. But like I said, I wouldn't really rely on that. Next, they might involve you or suggest physical therapy. Now, physical therapy can be beneficial and it can be harmful. So the things I'll say for physical therapy is make sure that you're not getting exercises printed off a computer and you need to go home and do them yourself. You really want to pay for something maybe out of pocket if your provider doesn't provide it, so you have a little bit more one-on-one supervision. I would say it's quite vital that you have that supervision especially for something this severe, and your muscles and nerve and your body overall just can be so tender and sensitive at this state. You don't want to do anything to maybe push the disc further outward or something like that, or compress the nerve even more. Physical therapy is also something I would start once you can actually move um, your leg, I would say, and be able to like somewhat walk without pain. Because if you still have pain when you do that, then obviously other sorts of motions are probably not going to be a good idea. So I would hold on to do physical therapy till the pain is at least manageable and you don't need any drugs to mask it, and it doesn't get worse when you do move. If it stays the same, then maybe that's the green light to go ahead and do it. After physical therapy, I would try chiropractors. They do a really good job of decompressing the spine, and that'll kind of loosen up any of the tightness in your back and maybe give the disc a little bit more room. So it could alleviate some pain. There's acupuncture. There's a cupping technique. There's something called cryotherapy. For those of you who don't know cryotherapy, the best way I could describe it is think of a sauna. It's pretty much identical to a sauna except cold temperatures. So you go in and the temperature is about negative 250 degrees. It's just cold air. You go in there and you stand in there for about 2.5 to 3 minutes. Maybe they'll let you do 4 minutes, but probably not. It depends, especially if it's your first time, they definitely won't. And it's basically good for anti-inflammation. A lot of athletes actually endorse it now and do it for muscle soreness and anti-inflammation. So I would definitely try that out. It's an incredible experience. Even if you don't have the injury, I would try it out. But if you are going to do it, I suggest you do it for a few weeks at a time. If you do it once, maybe twice, you're not going to see results. You have to be a little more consistent than that with it to actually get benefit. After cryotherapy, there is also foam rolling, which I'll give you maybe like a couple exercises to do. But again, foam rolling is not something you'll be doing until you're actually seeing like a chiropractor, for example. But that's also going to help to like decompress the spine and just really loosen up tight muscles at the affected area and around. So I'll show you a couple of videos of how to do that at the end, and that's something great you can do at home. So you don't have to go to the gym or your chiropractor for that. And you're definitely going to want to do that consistently, because once you suffer an injury, like a disc injury, it doesn't really affect your back only. So it doesn't just affect your back. So as I said, I had muscle atrophy in my leg, I had foot drop, so my feet and my leg also were affected. My hips were, because all those muscles, attached to each other and whatnot, they all need each other to move. So that's why foam roll is going to be very important. And I would say the last treatment, let's see here. We have a couple more treatments actually. I took some notes. Didn't want to forget anything. So I didn't touch on surgery. Obviously, it's obviously not the first choice. It is actually really the last choice, because you don't want to get surgery if you don't have to. For me, my neurosurgeon said they were going to cut off part of my pelvic bone and part of my lower vertebrate backbone and put in metal plates. And that did frighten me a lot, knowing that I was going to have metal plates at like 23. Luckily, I dodged it. But to do so, I had to deal with that pain for months and those cramps. So there's spinal injections. Now, those were probably the most beneficial treatment that I received for my pain. So there's other treatments that I'll talk about. One more treatment we'll talk about that really helped me physically, mentally, emotionally. But it really couldn't do anything at the pain. But for mainly the pain, to treat the pain, the best thing for me, and I think for most people, is spinal injections. So it's kind of like a steroid they inject in the area of the injury, and it really masks the pain and also decreases inflammation in the area, which allows the area to heal much faster as well. So I got my second spinal injection about 3 months in. So that was 90 days from my initial injury. And after that, I started seeing significant improvement within the 30 days. It was a huge difference, huge difference. And you'll really feel it after you get it. So the last type of rehab or treatment you can do, and this is, once the pain subsides and you can actually do this, because it's a form of exercise, is going to be yoga. So yoga is probably the most beneficial thing I did to maintain my the strength in my back and my spine, and prevent, you know, any other injuries when I started to work out again. Because don't forget, when you do go back to exercising, your hips are going to be extremely tight, your feet are going to be very weak. My leg was really weak, so you're susceptible to a lot of other injuries. So yoga allowed me to, you know, kind of regain my mobility and flexibility, and strengthen muscles and improve my balance. So I definitely strongly urge you do yoga, and obviously it has the mental benefits. So I mean, it's just an all-around great form of exercise. I just love lifting weights, so that was something I really wanted to get back to. And obviously, there's certain things in lifting weights that you will not get in yoga, but yoga is definitely probably the best thing you can do for if you have this exercise. And if you do want to get back to lifting weights, you're definitely going to want to incorporate yoga. I myself will probably do it for the rest of my life, because I believe that wraps everything up. Again, I'm going to show you a couple of videos now on foam rolling. I'm also going to play some videos of me at the gym in this past couple of weeks, just to show you guys what I'm now able to do. You know, I'm not putting this up just to like show you guys the exercise I do, or the weights that I'm lifting, but just to kind of give you guys an outlook of what I was able to get back to. You'll see in these videos that I'm doing a farmer's walk. So I'm lifting about 140 pounds, 70-pound kettlebells, one on each arm, and walking with it. So that's a lot of compression on the spine, and I was able to do that pain-free 12 months later. I'm doing some ab oblique exercises, you know, where I'm twisting. I was able to do that pain-free. You'll see me doing, you know, squats to presses, which is an Olympic exercise. Also, clean and presses, or clean and jerks, which is another Olympic exercise. And I was able to do these without pain 12 months later. Obviously, again, guys, I built up to this. I made sure the first time I did it, I even asked a trainer to come watch me, just to make sure I was doing it correctly at my gym. Even though I had done them before, I just didn't want to take any chances, because I was kind of nervous. You know, I didn't have confidence in my body, obviously, for a while. And then I was doing yoga. So again, I would not try to do some serious stuff till you're completely pain-free, till you're doing yoga. And when I say pain-free, I mean pain-free from like exercising too. So you got to get back in the gym, and, you know, start with like some arms or shoulders or chest, or, you know, some leg stuff too, but obviously not where you're compressing the spine. So you could do something seated. But once you're starting to actually lifting weights above your head or on your back, stuff like that, you really need to make sure you're confident, you're comfortable, and you've done everything you've needed to up until that point. I would talk to your doctor and ask him. I would talk to your physical therapist. The last person I would listen to, though, is yourself, because I've been told to not do both, and I'm doing both at this point. But I've been extremely careful, and obviously they're gonna worry a little bit more, because they don't want to see you back in their office. You know, they've helped you, and they just want to see you get back, and it's obviously not worth the risk. Um, so those that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions, please comment below. I will get to the questions as soon as I can, in a timely fashion. Um, Other than that, I really hope this video inspires and add value to anybody who's watching it. Because like I said, I was lucky to find a community online, um, and authors and books that really helped me see the light at the end of the tunnel, and kind of guide me through my experience. Because like I said, I was so mentally, emotionally, physically weak. Um, so that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. So in this first video, I'm just doing some clean and presses at the gym. And again, I'm not showing you guys these videos just to like show you what kind of weights I lift, or what kind of exercise or do, or to show off in any way. I'm doing this to show you that after I got to a point where I completely lost my ability to walk, and I was paralyzed, you know, crying and depressed, that this is the place I was able to get to. So I just want to shed some light. There is some light at the end of the tunnel. I want to be able to inspire you guys and provide some sort of optimism. Okay?
Here you see me doing a clean and press. I think I said I was doing that before. The first thing was more of a squat to press. This is actually like a clean and press or a clean and jerk. And again, I built up to this, guys. This is something I just started doing in December. I ruptured my disc in January, so pretty much 12 months later. And again, I'm doing yoga on a weekly basis when I do this, so I strongly suggest you do the same. It'll really help you maintain balance, a strong spine. You'll be much more flexible, less tight. You're less susceptible to injury. I do a lot of stretching before and after these gym sessions. I'll do like maybe 20 minutes before and after. I'll do foam rolling and regular stretching as well. I'll also warm up to begin my exercise. So here we have me doing oblique exercises. So this puts a lot of stress on your spine and your lower back. And I was able to do this pain free. These I didn't have to wait 12 months to do. This kind of weight, I probably did wait about like 10 months. I believe that's a 55-pound dumbbell. But your core is definitely one of the first things you want to target when you get back in the gym. Your core, your lower back. You actually don't want to target your lower back just because it's actually going to put a lot of pressure on it. You want to target your core and your upper back. Your upper back will help your posture. And your lower back, you want to target maybe a couple months in. You definitely want to like stretch your lower back, keep it loose, foam roll. But I don't know if you necessarily want to lift weights that target your lower back because your lower back's going to be weak. So just strengthen other things around it that can support it, provide it some support, and then start to work it out. I wouldn't work it out too frequently either. And I also, I don't have any videos of it, but I do deadlifts and whatnot and front squats. But I also waited again about 11 months before I did it. And when I did, I actually asked the trainer if he would watch me just so I could be extra careful because I wasn't very confident in my body at this point physically. Here you see me doing something called a farmer's walk. This is excellent for posture. I believe each kettlebell is about 70 pounds. So this is me carrying 140 pounds, and that's a lot of stress on your spine. So again, I'm doing this pain-free. Right now it's pain-free. After I'm pain-free, the next day I am. So again, this is something I did 12 months later. Farmer's walk is definitely something you can do maybe about 9 to 10 months in, depending, again, how you feel. But you definitely do not want to start with this kind of weight. But the main reason I'm doing this is for my posture. Here you see me doing a core and oblique exercise. So it involves me putting a weight behind my head and neck and moving from side to side. So again, when I'm moving side to side, I'm not feeling any pain or tension in my lower back or in my leg. This all feels okay. Obviously, there's pain from muscle fatigue and just putting so much weight and stress on the muscle over a certain period of time. I would strongly suggest this exercise. Some people have adverse things to say about it, but I personally like it. I've seen results doing it. It's great for your core, great for your obliques. Here's the last exercise in the video. Again, this is me just doing some side-to-side core oblique. This is more for endurance than strength. But again, I was able to do these movements without any pain. Before I wasn't able to do explosive stuff like this, obviously, without dealing with pain. So once you can jog on a treadmill lightly, then you could start probably doing stuff like this, start jump roping. You just want to start real slow and just work your way up and really take your time. There's no rush. Just the fact that you're able to walk again, you should just be so happy that you can do that. So this is almost all luxury at this point. Here's a picture of me coming out of a cryo chamber, excuse me. I know I mentioned that earlier. Alright guys, so here's me showing you guys how to foam roll. I'm mainly going to show you how to foam roll for your back to kind of open up your spine and relieve some pressure on your disc. So what you want to do is put your upper back and the lower part of your neck on the foam roller like this.
You want to cross your hands behind your head, and then you want to roll. Exhaling, and then come back. So I just felt my back crack a couple times. You're not necessarily looking for a crack, but that helps. But if not, you're just loosening up the tightness in your back, and like I said, you're going to release some pressure. You could also do one for your lower back. So again, just put it behind you here, and then you just roll small back and forth, and then you can move it a little lower, a little higher. It's a little harder to do longer motions for your lower back than it is for your upper back because of the leverage you have. But after that, I like to sit on this a bit and do my butt because don't forget, um, all the muscles are connecting and they need each other to move. So you don't want some muscles loose, some muscles tight, right? So I'll do my butt, I'll do my hamstrings, right? You can do the sides for your hips, and then again, put it under you right here to again target the other side of your hips. Again, you can do your quadriceps. You could do one leg or two legs at a time. And then lastly, again for your upper back, you do this on the side, okay? And you're targeting this guy right here, okay? When you're doing these last ones. So that concludes my video. Thank you guys for watching. I hope this was helpful. If you guys do have any other questions or do want any sort of other information, I'd be happy to share it with you guys. So just leave a comment below, and I'll get back to you guys in a timely fashion. All right, thanks for watching, guys.